Take a look at this story from Breitbart.
This is great.
Timcast's good friend, Malcolm Nance, says, GOP becoming an insurgency, we may have to fight our neighbors. Okay.
Whoa.
Well, guys, I'm worried because Malcolm Nance, he's got a gun. And I saw that picture of him in military gear when he went to Ukraine. And,
terrifying.
He knows what he's doing.
This is interesting. Are we going to listen to this Malcolm Nance speaking at all? Do you want to play this
it's 5 minutes of him just diarrheaing from his mouth.
Essentially, he's talking about the United States.
Is diarrhea-ing a word?
I like it, but it should be.
It's a good verb.
He's not wrong that we are facing some sort of insurgency, but I believe it's a Federal Reserve. It's a fascist attempt at a coup, basically since 1913. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, they wanted control of the country, so they created this private bank to run our finances, and we have yet to break free. So in that, he's right. We are in trouble, and we have been co-opted. But he points the finger at Donald Trump, which is very annoying because I feel like it's the banking industry.
He thinks it's people at parent-teacher conferences.
Right.
Yeah.
He thinks it's his neighbors.
Yes.
That's terrifying. I think Ian's thinking correctly when he says it's someone above us who's trying to pit us against each other. I think that's correct.
I'm just imagining Malcolm Nance walks out of his house, and there's a guy in khaki cargo shorts with a tucked in polo shirt, and he goes, "Howdy, neighbor," and Nance goes, "Ah!" and starts brutally attacking him.
His fake gun.
You're far right. So let me. I want to read this quote, but I really don't want to. He said, "You can call what is happening an insurgency. We have heard that term in foreign wars recently in Iraq. Today he says to talk about why you apply the term insurgency to what you see here as a persistent ongoing threat of domestic extremists." Oh, that was Zerlina asking him. He said, "I was reading their forums. I was reading their own intelligence about what they intended to do. It was pretty clear at that point that they were going to try to either overthrow the government or they were going to settle in for a long-term series of destabilizing actions using a political party, the Republican Party, as their political base, and then using violence, threat of violent extremism, as a way to manifest change in the street." I just want to say it. The goal of January 6th, we thought, was to stop Trump from running. It really does feel, in my opinion, the goal is to start a civil war.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
The end result of a non-adversarial, just smear campaign, show trial, it is similar to the things we've seen in other countries when people are trying to destabilize and destroy a government.
It makes me think of the burning of the Reichstag and what Hitler did. Well, we don't know that Hitler burned it down. This is different. He said the communists did it.
No. This is more like the French Revolution. It's a show trial. It's bringing people up. Then no one defends any of the individuals. No one's given a chance to. Most people don't want to, and then they lie, cheat, and steal to present their case to try and seize power.
Yeah, I don't think with the Reichstag. I think Hitler did it. He just chose. He's like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to lie, and then I'm going to strip them of their rights. And in this case, no one did it. It just happened. But they're using the experience as an opportunity to throw people in jail without a trial, to enhance security.
I don't think that's the goal of January 6th. They already threw people in jail without a trial, put them in solitary. January 6th is fomenting discord in this country. It is convincing people of nonsense, psychotic BS like this. Malcolm Nance is radicalized. He is as radicalized as you can be. He's saying he needs to fight his neighbors.
That's crazy.
Yo, if I were to have told you 6 years ago that MSNBC personality would go on TV and say we may have to fight our neighbors, would you have believed me? You'd be like, oh, come on. Then if I said, the year is 2015, let's go 7 years. Nobody believes Trump's going to win. And you go back in time and you go to any random person and say, 7 years from now, several presidential administration officials, former officials, will have been arrested by the incoming administration. Prominent MSNBC personalities will be talking about civil war, and one of them will say we may have to be fighting our neighbors. A man walking down the street in Portland will be shot twice in the chest by a man with a communist tattoo on his neck, the red salute. Nobody would have believed you. And today, people are acting like nothing crazy is happening. It's like, stop being the frog in the boiling pot.
The average person doesn't know about the guy getting shot with the...
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem. It's most of my friends, if they're not politically partisan, the ones that I don't agree with, but we can at least agree to disagree, the average person just doesn't know that stuff is going on. If it's not being... You talked about Donald Trump going to these sites that hate him to get his message out there.
That's part of the problem.
But these other sites, they're not talking about this. When that happened, I still remember that. Nobody heard about that in the regular news. Nobody around me.
I think that's the problem too. You know, these people don't want to be political. You know, it's doomsday news all the time. They think they're leading this happy life, but you know, ultimately they're not voting, they're not doing anything, and the next thing you know, like their kids are coming home with these crazy messages, and they're, I mean, I don't know. I wish I felt like I could be non-political, but I care too much, and I think you know, you guys obviously do. That's why we're here.
Yeah, we had this. Tim tweeted this Plato quote about if you don't get involved in politics, the politics will get involved with you.
Yes.
Well, he says the penalty for not being involved is to be ruled by evil.
And then you
Yeah, I agree
juxtapose that
with
with Dan Tone, who said, "I'd rather have been a poor fisherman than to have meddled in the politics of man." What I started thinking is Dan Tone was cynical. He was angry and violent the entire time, and he was just lashing out. Of course, you're supposed to be involved with politics.
Here, let me read these quotes. Plato said, "The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men."
Correct.
And Danton said, "Oh, it were better to be a poor fisherman than to meddle with the government of men."
That is not true. That is an FU to people because he was angry that they were about to execute him.
That's right.
He
Yeah.
knows you have to be involved in the political process. You don't have to be partisan, but you need to be involved in what's going on. You need to know what's going on and be willing to communicate and be willing to listen. It is the basis of our government. Is we the people created this thing together, and we're running this thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a personal reflection on the part of Dan Tone. I think it was a sense of deep regret and frustration that he did what he did. I don't know if he ever realized or said that it was something that needed to be done, but at the end of the day, even if you regret doing something, sometimes it is far better to have done that thing than to have not done it.
Man, no better example of living by the sword and dying by the sword or dying by the sword than Robespierre and Danton.
Yeah, I was thinking last night the U.S. Revolution, the French Revolution, and the French, man, they had it tough because the king was there with them on their soil. Like, we were far away, and they ended up cutting all these people's heads off with the guillotine. Like, could they have won that revolution if they hadn't done that?
Don't know.
Well,
And that's the danger of monarchy. It makes people crazy and desperate.
think about the Russian Revolution. When, or not Russian, but Soviets, or however you call it,
Russian Revolution.
when they brought the royal family and were like, yeah, just wait here, and then later came back and was just killed them all.
Yeah.
And they were like, the problem is if you're around, you'll have influence, so you're dead. These people are dangerous, crazy people. The French Revolution is, man, you got to read about that. I've only read a little bit, but I'm reading more, and y'all should read about it because it was a group of people. There was anger in the streets. They were starving, so they have a revolution. It happens. Then a bunch of different factions are all in a Mexican standoff over who's going to chop off whose head, and they all start executing each other. And then finally Robespierre gets it, and they're like, "Yay! Like we finally killed the last person who was trying to get power." Creepy.
And then Napoleon seized command and became an emperor. That's what happens
Yeah.
with that nonsense.
That's great.
And then you get the Napoleonic Wars. How about that?
We do not
Exciting.
want to fight our neighbors, to be clear. The Nazis separated people from their neighbors. The communists in Russia separated people from their neighbors. They had their neighbors spying, turning in their neighbors, their kids turning in
Divide
their
and
parents.
conquer.
So I understand Nance's frustration and fear. I get that he is afraid, but right now you need to be communicating with your neighbors and creating community with your neighbors. If you run out of food, you need to make sure that your neighborhood is secure together and that you all have enough food to eat. You need to import the food, make sure the roads are clear, have community watch.
I think Malcolm Nance saying this is a sure sign that he hasn't talked to another actual person outside his bubble in a very long time. There are a lot of normal people still
think
out
that's
there
right.
who just want to take their kids to school without masks, and they'll argue about that with other people. They're not terrorists. They're working. They're trying to provide their family with a
They don't have
living.
time to engage
sure?
with local school board who has time.
Right.
Let me read what he said. He said, 1.5 years ago, when I was calling this an insurgency, people were saying that's crazy. This isn't an insurgency. This isn't like Iraq. It's not like Libya. It's not like Syria. Well, it is. It's well on its way. It's closer to the beginnings of the Irish Republican Army. You know, Irish Republicanism, where now the Republican Party is Sinn Féin. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
Sinn Féin. And it's just a matter of seeing who comes up as the original Irish Republicans in this story and starts carrying out acts of violence to effect change. That's already happening with Antifa. It's been happening. So we are well on our way to a multi-year campaign that we are already 2 years into this campaign, where we may have to fight them. The they in my title and the they in my title is those who want to kill Americans are your neighbors.
That's so horrible. We
That's
don't have a
insane.
king, man. We don't have a monarch.
Oh, I think this is a typo from Breitbart, maybe. The they in my title And those who want to kill Americans are your neighbors.
That
Or
makes
I don't
sense.
know.
Okay,
Yeah.
he might have referred to a they in the title of his article. But
Yeah.
yeah. To me, it just sounds like he's calling you to go out in the streets and get into it with your own neighbors,
Yeah,
which is insane.
The Irish Republicans wanted out of the British Empire. They were stuck under imperial rule. They didn't like it.
like
That's
that.
not what we're going through right now. We're suffering a bank default, basically.
The people on the left think that it's a white supremacist 1619 government, and they look. He who controls the past controls the future. Is that the saying?
Yeah.
He who or no, that's not what it is it?
Let me look it up. Not sure.
That sounded right to me.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
that what it
looks
is?
like
Yeah.
Because there's like a full quote. It's like he who controls the future controls the present or something, or controls the present
In the
controls
past,
the future.
the present will be controlled by those who, in the past, lived in the future. I'm sorry.
Like Kamala Harris now.
Yeah. Vice President Harris?
right.
Is that you?
Do you have the quote?
No, I'm pulling it up. Sorry, my phone's really slow. I had to update it.
You're saying who writes the history books is
Sort of. The point I'm
predominating
making
the
is
future.
You go to people and say, "Hey, did you know that guy stole from you?" And you go, "He did?" And you're like, "Yeah, he stole from you." "Why did he steal from me?" "Because of your race." Like, "But I can't do anything about that." You should beat him up. And that's what you end up getting. You get these extremists who are advocating for this crazy stuff.
Okay, here's the
Is-
quote. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, works out.
That's
Yep.
powerful.
And that's what we're seeing with people like Malcolm Nance.
Yeah.
The idea, it's possible he's just so dumb that he doesn't know how to read or he doesn't want to read.
I don't buy that anymore.
Yeah.
I
Right.
used to be one of the people that gave people the benefit of the doubt and thought, maybe they just don't know what they're
Maybe
talking
they're
about. but
zombies.
I don't. I don't buy that anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then it's intentional. He's intentionally trying to manipulate the facts, the data, history to cause people to be violent. This is the point I was making with my op-ed in Newsweek. Jamie Raskin, who represents a district like 2 miles away from us, who represents some of the employees here at Timcast, was spreading disinformation to radicalize people
Yep.
because they want violence.
Yeah, so his article reads more like a wish than a warning. It sounds like this is exactly what he wants. It's what he's been gunning for. Sounds like calling for it for a long time.
The idea that he
wrong.
said that
Incredible.
what he says that where we may have to fight them, that's outright psychotic.
Like, I get it. You do want to prepare for the worst. You want to be. That's why people arm themselves in the U.S. and we have the Second Amendment. A big part of it is because if you get a totalitarian government, could be your neighbors or whatever, you need to be able to defend yourself. I understand the sentiment, but there's like a point where preparing and living in fear no longer is defensive, but becomes offensive. And we got to make sure that people that spew rhetoric like this do not incite people to attack their neighbors preemptively.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Come hang out live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Super Chat will even answer some of your questions. If you want to check out the After Hours Censored Show, go to timcast.com and become a member. We put those up Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. They're very funny, not very family friendly. We'll love to see you there. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.